She's gonna ask you, like, I thought I sent a message to you. You said you had.
Hey Laura, can you hear us?
Hi, yeah. Hi, everybody.
You can hear and see, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Good. I'm gonna mute them for a minute.
Okay.
We are still waiting on primarily Julian, but others to arrive.
Okay. All right.
That's why we're muted and just kind of talking amongst ourselves, but hopefully we'll hear back from Julian.
Thanks. At first I was wondering, I'm like, you guys were muted, and then I realized, I'm like, you guys aren't looking at each other, so I figured then maybe you were just waiting.
Yeah, yep. I'll unmute as soon as we have an update.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I crunched most of the night, so.
Oh,
Well, we've just been chit chatting a little bit, so.
It's good.
we got two people out on Zoom.
Good, yeah. Len Luca up there.
No.
I saw his note that he just
It's a
made
sheep.
it in Seattle, so.
Oh,
Oh.
no, this is, he's asking about Len. Our new-
Yeah, she's our new member. And she sort of yesterday just said she couldn't make it in person. She had intended to, but she has work demands.
Okay.
Yeah, align with, and then with Luke.
So. Yeah, I apologize for being late.
You have a good excuse.
Yeah, well, kind of. So. Some agendas.
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
But, and, some minutes. If you, let me keep one or two.
Do you have a minute?
No, I agree.
You double tried.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit tricky to do it on my printer, but it agrees sometimes.
I know, that can be tricky sometimes.
Oh, good, Nikita. Okay, and Laura. Oh, I wonder what happened to that. I hope she got it.
I think Luke said he could do it.
Oh, well.
Right.
Let's have a roll call. May we, honorable secretary?
Before that, could you give me the names of the new people?
Yes, Len Luca, just like what it sounds. Len, L-E-N, Luca, L-U-K-A.
Just one?
Yeah, there's just, well, Tommy gets back on.
Yes. Well, no time. Okay, so, Julian's here. Got. Caitlin in person, good to see you. In person. Tom, welcome back. Keela. And Laura. Rebecca Raphael from City Council. Takes the picture of the right. Well, Luke had an excuse for himself, it might be a power outage, right? Excuse, I guess.
I don't know where he is, but
He's in Seattle.
Oh,
I sent an
really?
email
Okay.
earlier, actually, but you were busy doing grades.
Yeah.
And. Well, and of course, Len is also an absent, right? Steve?
sorry.
Len Luca is absent, excuse.
Yeah, yeah, I guess she's excused. I presume she couldn't get a link. I don't know. I'm sorry. I probably should have made sure. she
Maybe
got
I'll
one.
put the link inside. Or didn't know where to find it.
Yeah.
So, that's the roll call.
Thank you. Okay,
We have it before.
approval of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes?
I just have a question. Should we also include what Councilman, like what President Dundon stated on the phone call? Should that be included? That should be included in the minutes what council said to us, correct?
Sorry, I didn't quite get the question in that. I heard most of it, but
Oh, she's saying, Councilman Dundon made statement, meeting. Maybe that should be included in the minutes.
oh, okay.
It was about fluoridation, just clarifying that the city council was not gonna bring it up.
Okay, there was a mention of fluoridation here somewhere.
I think I would say that was like, I wasn't at the meeting, but I know that that conversation happened and I was expecting to see it in the minutes, but it
Okay.
was an identified.
Yeah, it came up under the eco,
Judgment number.
came up under the eco talks committee, but yeah, so if you could just add that in there, where would you like it? Okay,
It's
Where
under
would-
eco talk, there's not a mention of it. All it's pertaining to. It's not pertaining to that. It's just it's like nothing. I don't see anything in the minutes pertaining to what President Dundon said.
Well, there's a lot of things that are not in the minutes. According to Robert's rules, the essentials are the attendance, the quorum, and anything that requires a vote. And this did not have a vote, it was just something, but there were a lot of things that we do not do a transcript of the meeting. We do the essentials, but if you want to submit a sentence or two to put in, you could do that. If we agree on that.
I think it's important to have in the minutes. I think that's a big thing. That's important. I think that should be in the minutes.
I agree.
okay, unless there's any opposition to that, we will just do that. Yeah, sentence, I guess, just say,
Okay,
the president of city council called in and, said that fluoridation would no longer be a matter of discussion in city council.
okay, so anything else or with the changes made to approve it, and then we get the revised copy back.
Yeah. If you would, yeah.
Do anything else?
Anything else? Yeah.
Minutes?
Yeah, in addition to like city council, that like the commission's not to like the commission is supposed to work on other things.
Well, we're not gonna add anything that wasn't in the meeting.
That's what he said. Like he stated that like their expectation is for us to focus on other things and not fluoridation because it's not a topic that the city council is pursuing right now. So I think it's important to have what he intended in the minutes.
Okay,
It would be
So,
helpful. I'm happy to get his statement. While we're-
Oh, it's on YouTube, I can get it, no problem. It's all on the,
yeah,
it's all on the record.
it has been posted too.
Perfect.
Okay, approval of the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All right, so one,
I would
two.
also abstain.
Nikita, approved with your addition.
Yes.
Oh, look, who we got here, oh,
It's
Laura, Laura, okay, she
Thank
just
you.
came in person. Right, okay, good. So did we get your votes on the minutes? Nikita and Laura,
Yes.
Yes, I.
as amended?
Is the meeting being recorded? It's not showing on my, oh, never mind. I see it. We're good. We're good.
Good. Okay, public comment, there is no public here, I guess, so we will skip that. Previous business. What committees have we had since the last meeting? Was the Eco Talk since the last meeting? No, that's what I thought it was before, I just can't quite remember. Okay. I actually don't think there's been any action on by any committees, but we will get those rolling. Okay, in the absence of any comments, I would just say, Tommy, I'd love to sort of talk to you, just not right here maybe, but just sometime, a little bit about what your ideas are for native gardens. And I'm sure you've said some of that, but I need to be I mean, I'm quite interested in that, and, I just would like to, get that rolling again.
Yeah,
Do we have time? Because I have the same questions.
Okay,
About, well, I don't know if they're the same questions, but I'm not clear on the focus of that committee. And I don't know if we have the time in this
oh,
meeting to ask what.
okay, why don't we take that up, after we've dealt with the, climate action and the next two things, okay? And, by the way, I put the Climate Action and Resiliency Committee on there, because that was established, way back, last June, you know? And, what happened was, we decided to take up its matter in the full commission. And I think trying to remember who was on it, but there were
It's
two.
only myself and Luke.
Luke, that's what I thought, yeah, okay. And, so, I just point out that, that we haven't been talking about that committee at all, and I would, I think it's obvious this is one of the major issues of the environment these days, so it would be a good idea to, resurrect that. There was actually, were there any, sort of, non-commission members on that? I thought, no, okay,
I mean, since we never met, we didn't really
yeah.
entertain that.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to the waste disposal issue. Maybe, Richard, you, since obviously, we're working on that in your committee. Where are we with that?
Well, I pretty much said all that I.
What-
said at the last meeting,
Okay,
which was, basically that. Food bag issue has a number of problems that we've identified, mainly the distribution of the bags. Another one is the cost of the bags and the burden on the poor and for those bags.
Yeah.
The fact that price should go up recently about 50%, but even worse than ever. And they're just, getting the bags with, closure of the Weiss on the south side and limited access to getting those bags. The larger issue is, to reduce what goes into the bags so that
yeah,
we won't need as many bags, and that also reduces the cost and also preserves the landfill, and that would be accomplished by changing to a different three-stream solid waste disposal where the biodegradables were separated to go into a compost, and the remaining garbage, except for the recycling, which we still have separated, when we go to the landfill, so that would reduce what goes to the landfill. It would allow the hopefully the county to operate a compost facility. And based on the law of 2022, if there is a compost facility within 25 miles, all of the waste haulers within that radius must use that compost facility. So right away, the county will have customers who will be able to run a large enough compost facility where they could make it economically profitable. Running it small, it's kind of a loss. It's large. What the research I looked at and worked out very well. At the same time, it also saves the landfill because they have to constantly add water to that landfill. The water comes from Johnson City and then it goes to the treatment plant in Endicott. So if you just have discarded mattresses and strollers there, you don't have to do that. Just for the biodegradable stuff because they are encouraging anaerobic respiration, which generates methane gases, which we don't want because they're worse than carbon dioxide. Greater greenhouse impact. And but they capture that and use it for energy. So With compost, it's a different story. You're using oxygen to carry out aerobic respiration. So you are sequestering carbon dioxide. So it's a double win for the environment. It's a win for the people because they don't have to put as much into the blue bags that go to the landfill because the landfill capping fees are what the blue bags of cost is all about, pretty much, right? So that would be the way to go. And the model, which is highlighted by the EPA, it's really promoted by the EPA, is in San Francisco. They have this system in place. And, you know, it's very difficult. Well, I hope that the city council works on legislation to get information to us more easily because the difficulty with the foil here is outrageous. There was, I came across students working on their final projects where they couldn't get information from the city as well. But luckily I have other alternatives and I spoke to somebody who works for the sanitation, has been there longer than the current acting commissioner. And apparently they can use those trucks for different purposes. The trucks can compact regular trash. They don't compact the recyclables because they don't want to break the glass. They just push it to the front of the truck to make room for more. But in. However, I say if they use some of those trucks to make separate trips, they'd be able to go to maybe, let's say if they go to 2 neighborhoods and they have to go to landfill, they'd be able to go to 3 or 4 neighborhoods because they're just making that. They're just picking up the stuff that goes to the landfill without the biodegradable. But then they come back with an empty truck and pick up the biodegradables, but they still cover a wider area doing that, and then take that to the compost. So it's very doable. They wouldn't even have to get new trucks.
Is all of this in the, would the next step for this be, it's in writing for the commission to discuss, and then it goes to council in a proposal format? Is that then the traditional trajectory of how things are elevated from the committee to council? And I'm asking
No.
because this is, I mean, this is
Yeah.
something that council, not only just in responding to residents, because it's one of the primary things that we hear about is getting rid of blue bags or the blue bag issue. We've identified it as something that we're exploring. Hadassah has been doing a lot of that work in understanding the current scope and status. So I'm curious what the next step at this level would be to ultimately get it to.
Yeah, I think what we would need to do is discuss the issue and see some of its ramifications and then put a proposal to city council. I don't know whether that falls under the heading of legislation or you know, we're not really proposing legislation. We're proposing that there would be a county composting, and obviously the city would then have to talk. I mean, we have no power. So
If I could cut in, sorry, Len Luca wants a Zoom link, and I was hoping to find one of the clerks, but must be in a meeting.
oh dear.
Send me.
If he, to find the Zoom link, if he goes on the city website, I can try to email him, but if he goes on the city website, like where the meeting is, I clicked on that and then you'll see, it's not a link. You have I can give you well, I don't know if you want me to tell you the code, but there's a code, there's a participant code and password on the website.
If we get,
I also, oh, I'm sorry, Julian. I also have the link that Sam sent me this morning to the video. Is that what he's needing? Is Luke trying to get in? Because I can email that to him now too.
It's Len, I think.
Say that
Yeah.
again.
Len, a new member.
Oh, Len. Oh, I don't have their email. If they
Or
have,
if I give you, so Len is a she,
okay,
give you her email.
sure. Send it to me now and I'll send it to her.
Okay, so it's Len, Len underscore.
Do you want to do it though, like, this since is recorded, do you want to do her email recorded?
Let me see, it might be on,
It's, just trying.
if it's on Basecamp, I can get it from there too, if we want to not send it over the recording.
It is, yeah, that's the trouble. Basecamp hasn't been updated. I'll ask for it to be updated.
Oh, okay.
Several things, but, for
Well,
right,
Scott, then if you want to email me, because I think you might have that, or then I can send, sorry, I don't mean to complicate things. I can, because I'm on the computer now having this meeting, I can just send it to her real quick. Probably easier than perhaps some of you at the moment.
Okay, Laura, let me just forward you the email I got from her, and you can then reply to her.
Okay.
And then one other question too, like, Laura, are you, like, have the voices been muffled? I think sometimes when people are talking, depending on, like, some people I can hear better than others, but then some voices are muffled, especially if people, like, have you had that experience? Have you been able to hear everybody clearly, or have the voices been muffled at times?
You know, it's clearer using this Zoom link than last time I had to call over the link on the website that's audio, but Richard was a little muffled. I think just Richard, because you're further away from the microphone. It tends to be the ones closer to the microphone I can hear. I can hear Julian quite well.
Richard
Really
is the one
just
that's
Richard so far.
that's
But I
been
can hear, I just have to strain Richard, but we got you. I got what you're saying. I'm excited about the compost.
I could hear some of what Richard was saying, but Richard is the hardest for me to understand.
Same.
So I guess maybe, I don't know if you're able to speak up, Richard, when you do talk, that might help a little bit.
yeah, we're playing with the microphone here.
Thanks.
So it wouldn't necessarily have to be limited to legislation. And if that's my role as ex officio, that also makes sense. But in terms of communicating to council, I can certainly do the piece of letting council know that this is an issue that the commission is focusing on. I think what would be ideal to offer is something in writing of like the research that you're doing, a proposal that's been discussed. I think that's the kind of the trajectory that I'm looking to clarify. But I mean, and I think there's certainly a lot of people I think that would be interested in a compost conversation. I wonder if the lift there would be transferring seeing compost as a good idea to like actual resident practice, if that's the heavy lift piece. I don't know if that's, if we're just, I don't think we're discussing that right now, so we don't have to get into it, but I would be interested in like a expanded conversation around that in particular, with the opportunity to kind of review what you've been researching beforehand.
Yeah, I feel like to have a discussion at this table, I would need something in writing to digest.
It's a option to do what you suggested with people. I'm maybe compost right now, but the thing with the county is if they need to get this off the ground, it would help to have more stuff sent to them. Especially Binghamton would probably be the lead, then we'll get other communities to add on to it. So it probably, at least initially, it would be good to have as many people as possible put their composting biodegradables out of the curb so that we can get this county-wide compost project off the ground.
And I certainly don't disagree, more because I don't have, I think, kind of the point of like being able to digest, like hearing that you speak on it is informative and that's helpful and it's compelling. But to actually see what you're referencing in terms of the research or committee conversations or insight, or like, I think that is maybe step one for this group to then expand the conversation on, okay, what are the next steps? And what is the role of this group in the next step versus passing it on to council versus passing it on to county? I think those are the pieces that I'm clear to. But I may be the only one that it's not clear to, so.
Well, I don't know if this is the right moment to bring up this subject, but to me, we're in a dilemma right now because a project of the scale that you're talking about relative to the potential budget issues that are imminent to the city, the mayor spoke about it today, that he's talking about cancellation of CDBG money being so significant that they would just have to abandon all the projects that are currently funded by CDBG because there is no money in the federal budget. So I just don't see, I find it like very challenging to think about going to city council with any kind of seriousness, oblivious to the fact that new projects of that scale you're talking about are just not tenable at this time. That doesn't mean we can't talk about it in here or develop like ideas at all. It might be a great time to do that, but we should all be aware of the fact that like the city faces, and as do all the municipalities around the county and the county itself and the state, disastrous budget implications in the immediate future. It's just, otherwise we have no credibility because it's like the only people read it. We may not have a sanitation department that literally was a subject of discussion on the radio today.
With that information, sorry if I can pop in, Tom, that's helpful. I didn't know, and that's interesting. I'm particularly interested in a composting something discussion. I think it's very relevant to the Environmental Commission, as something to do with the city. Maybe just an idea, because it doesn't seem with that information to be super realistic to move forward on a grand scale. I believe we have an educational subcommittee or something. I know that the Cornell Cooperative Extension, they do currently have a community composting program where people can bring their bins and take. Perhaps we start on a level like that where the education team can kind of just get more, maybe working with CCE, and again, just ideas, but that wouldn't require any changes, any funding. It would just be like the expanding awareness of a program that already exists in our county. And that might be a step that we could do reasonably now that's helping, we're having that compost element, but then we can have more of that educational piece too. So it seems like with budget cuts and kind of, there's a lot of, issues and red tape, expanding it further. Maybe now we just have more of an educational aspect about programs that are already existing in our county. So just an idea as well, depending on where we decide we want to go with this.
I think that's a really good idea because as Rebecca might be aware, I had a problem with an apartment house on my block where people weren't managing their waste properly. And it's really gotten, the solution that I came up with in my own head was like, the city hasn't done an education program for the public around our recycling and sanitation system in decades. Like, and I'm not just talking about people that you would not, it's just like people you would think would know, like certain plastics can't go into recycling, certain types of objects can't go in. And it just seems like that would be something that would be more tenable. I agree with you.
Oh, and that's another point Tom, I didn't think of. I mean, personally, like recycling, I'm like, we'll do it, we'll separate it. But even I have a very difficult time finding out in the city of Binghamton, what can I recycle, what can I not recycle? I just recently learned I can't recycle the paper ebb cartons, so I think even people who are more aware or maybe want to make these changes, it is difficult. I think that there is that educational barrier in place, and there's a lot of people in our city who I think given information, it's simple tweaks. You don't have to, that's not a big barrier to entry. There's not a big burden. It's just, oh, I can recycle this, great, I will, or I can't recycle that plastic bag. And a lot of people think plastic bag, oh, let's recycle it. And you can't, that's not how it works. So I think perhaps just like a more basic foundational educational awareness of composting in general, what's available in our city, recycling in general, what we can and cannot do would be a great first step before we maybe move on to things that are less tenable with budget cuts and that will require more lifting.
What is there a next step then on the topic, and who owns it?
Sorry, Laura, if you can look for that email address, I put it out through Basecamp. That's the only way I could get it to you.
Did you send it? Is it in a message? I see it. I'll do that now.
Your email is in there. Okay, okay. Continue.
I don't want to stray from Rebecca's question because I think it's important, but I also think we're taking Richard's proposal as a three-stream system and we're breaking it apart with ideas of composting and recycling, and we haven't really addressed the blue bag issue. And maybe the proposal is the only way to address the blue bag issue is to address all three. But I think this comes back to the need of like, what is the proposal?
Well, it does address the blue bag issue, because if you remove the biodegradables, you have less going into the blue bags. So right away, you don't have to spend as much money on the blue bags. And then if another way to do it is also to provide the blue bags for people that are either on SNAP or show hardship.
But that's a new piece, so,
That's the economics of it.
yeah.
The durability issue, very simple. The city changed vendors several years ago. They had a much sturdier bag. They changed vendors. Now they have bags that are generating complaints because they're not strong enough. So they either have to demand a better quality bag from their vendor or find another vendor with a better bag. That's very simple.
And so as simple as you were presenting it, I think what I would still be hoping, and I'll use the word digest again, 'cause I feel like that's helpful. Like having something in front of of commission members to digest what an actual proposal is, the basis for it in terms of the research that you and others on I don't know which committee this is part of, but
Well, that was
Like-
legislative committee. It was assigned to a legislative committee several months ago.
okay, so like that, I do agree that that is still the likely first step. Rather than moving on the pieces that you're representing as part of the proposal, because I still don't have anything in writing to make that.
Well, Michael Dundon has informed me that the city council wanted me removed as chair, so the ball is in your court.
Okay. What I don't have is the information you put together thus far. Is that something that you have in writing that you can forward?
I'm no longer the chair.
Okay,
And I don't know where the committee's coming from. So you figure it out. You created it. Deal with it.
okay.
Deal with what, Rich?
So
The legislative committee.
Yeah, well,
It's legal.
I think we have to pull together the legislative committee. Michael doesn't have to do that.
well, I guess what I would say, so if there was discussion among legislative committee members.
Well, the discussion is all
Then-
posted up on YouTube, whatever discussion it was.
Okay,
Well,
so
moving forward.
what you're representing is pull any of the details from the legislative committee discussion from the YouTube videos, because you don't have anything to forward in writing. You're no longer the chair.
There's nothing, you saying how you're gonna move forward. But
As far as I know,
It's at a stop right now. It stands.
as far as I know, there's no minutes or videos of the latest legislative committee meeting.
What? They're up there.
No,
No? Oh, well, I submitted it weeks ago,
did you?
Okay. So
Sarah,
I
so
would
then
for
if they didn't get up, then it's
legislative
IT. You know,
videos
so I know she.
and see what can be compiled relative to the conversation.
She downloaded it from my flash drive,
I will ask Samantha about that.
I believe it was a month ago.
Yeah.
It was weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
So just to clarify, the legislative committee is the committee that is putting together and has been having a more in-depth discussion than what we're hearing with
Yeah.
all of us here on the
Yeah,
event.
several meetings ago, there were issues that came up and
Yeah,
we assigned some to the transportation committee and blue bag issues got sent to the legislative committee. Okay, so that's where it's.
Okay, let me
yeah,
just,
I'm on the legislative committee and I'm happy to like help compile this.
Good.
I just wasn't
Yeah, I know
privy
you were
to
out of
the,
town.
yeah.
okay, let me just digress a second. Len Luca is up. Hello, Len.
Hi, how are you? Glad to see you all.
Welcome,
Hello,
Len.
welcome.
Thanks very much. Sorry to be late.
Sorry for the difficulty getting, but I don't think it was your fault. I think it was entirely on
Pardon?
council or this.
Right, yeah, first name is Len, Luca is your last name, Luka.
We are still working through committee reports.
Hi, Nikita.
Should we do a quick round of intros so Lynn knows who they're looking at? Or no?
Sorry, what were you,
Should we do a quick round of intros so Lynn knows who is around the table?
sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, yes, yes, I'm sorry.
Blue bag, son.
Yeah. So I'll start since I'm the chair. Yeah, I'm Julian Shepherd. I'm actually a semi-retired professor from Binghamton University in biology. And my expertise has been actually the biological side of the environment. And that's my principal interest, although I've been involved in various kinds of environmental groups like the Sierra Club for quite a long time. So that's me. About,
Hi, Len, I'm Scott Walker.
Hi, Scott.
On it a little bit, and I owe you some information. I know you're interested in what we're doing on climate here. I'll just throw in while I can, we have an inactive climate committee, which you may want to be part of, because we took up comments to the climate action plan of the city as the whole commission. We took it out of the committee level, but we think there's more work at the committee level. So far, it's just myself and Luke Day, who can't be on the call today, he's away. So, but we can figure that out over time, so welcome, glad you're with us.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Zerna. I work for a sustainable agriculture grant funding organization, Northeast Air, and do farm and food business, small business consulting, among many other things in the community, but leave it brief at that.
Oh, I'm Tom Costello. I'm retired code director for the city. I had 10 years in that office, basically, and in public works. And I'm a BU graduate. Decades ago, thousands of decades ago.
Say thousands of decades.
78. Class of 78.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Rathmel. I am on city council. I represent the 6th district and I'm the ex officio member.
Hi, I'm Richard Giannaccio, and I'm the secretary of the commissioners. I'm doing minutes, and hopefully you'll approve them next month.
Hi, I'm Laura. Mainly my interest in environmental sciences started with environmental EV charging stations when I was an undergrad, then moved over to compostable stations and undergrad units as well. Now I'm just a gardener. I'm a master gardener intern with CCE. I'm also a Vines site coordinator. So now my current life, my interest in the environment is mainly around gardening and having to do with that. So that's kind of where my lens comes in with the commission. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is Nikita Robinson, and I have my master's in the biological sciences from Binghamton. Dr. Shepherd was my graduate advisor, and at the time I was looking at, to date myself, to look at the potential impacts of fracking to the biotic community if we had the multi-well hydraulic fracturing, and use PA as a comparison. And so that's more, I would say like how a lot of my interest, like I have interest in environment, but that expanded my interest.
Thank you. I'm very glad to meet you all. I think you know my CV, you reviewed my resume, so you know that I'm a retired academic, that I used to teach at a small liberal arts college. My area of research is cognition and language comprehension. And then I spent 10 years at Binghamton in a staff position. My partner is a psychology full professor. That's what brought me to Binghamton. And so I'm when I retired, I got very active in the climate work, and that's why I'm interested in being on this commission. And thanks for giving me a chance to do what I can to serve the community.
Good, thank you, Len. Okay, back to where we were. Shall we shall we have the legislative committee just take this up as to sort of pull together some information and present it to us. Richard, has the legislative committee already done much on composting, or was it mainly sort of more of a blue bag issue?
Well, I don't know what you mean by composting. That really is a discussion that needs to take place with the county.
I know.
Because it involves the county establishing a composting facility so that, and they benefit because it takes pressure off the landfill.
Yeah.
It will extend the life of the landfill, make it more easy to manage. So they benefit in that way, plus any revenue that they can get from 25-mile radius area would be, that would be a county operation, not a city operation. We can be major contributors to it. So by doing this, we have to help that get off the ground in a very big way. That has to be a discussion that involves the county.
I'm okay connecting, Caitlin, with you. You mentioned you're on the legislative committee, so I'm okay connecting with Caitlin and looking at videos, seeing what has been discussed at a committee level, and then what gaps might remain as far as bringing it back to the broader commission to discuss.
That sounds great. Was the last committee, so I haven't attended a legislative committee meeting, and I don't know if it was, I just was absent, or if I wasn't aware of.
No, because of, most of the people on there, we have to find a common time, and it was after 5 p.m. So we have them at the library, which doesn't have a facility for the live.
Okay,
you
so
know,
there isn't a Zoom recording then too?
there's no Zoom recording, but there was a recording that was submitted to be put up on YouTube.
Oh, like audio, or what kind of recording?
Video.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't know the difference between that and YouTube, except there was no live interaction, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't have the equipment for that. Doing that we use.
Okay, yeah, so
So,
I'll get access to that, so I can
you
see
will
what the committee.
you will see a few legislative committee meetings up there, but apparently the last one is not up yet. I don't know. I didn't check, but I did submit it weeks ago. And what I do is I put it on flash drive and, excuse me. And Sarah downloads it into the computer and sends it to the IT people to post up on YouTube. So it goes through that process.
And I'm afraid they are very slow about it. I mean, I had to ask about our last April meeting a month ago, and it only went up on Monday.
Yeah, even the minutes sometimes, you know, they get submitted, but they don't get posted. Until sometime later.
Do you have dates for when?
All I saw on home base was April 10th, was the only one I was seeing.
By the way, do you all know how to access the city? It took me a while to figure it out. But I go to city council, and then it says at the top, there's a banner that says government. And if you click on that or hover over it, you'll see a whole list of committees underneath government, one of which is our commission. And you can go to that. And then the trick is you go right down through the city council site. And at the bottom, when you get to the city, the commission, sorry, there's actually a banner there which gives you all the current and future things. But then you have to click on past to find the past
What he's talking about, this is the last thing.
So the April 10th legislative committee video is on the YouTube channel, and then there's a February, it looks like 8th one. Both,
Yeah.
the second, the April 10th one is just 20 minutes, the February one looks like 34, so maybe
How did
our
you-
powers combined, we can review those and see what we can pull.
Did you just search on YouTube?
No, the city has a channel on YouTube, City
channel.
of Binghamton channel, and all of every single committee that meets has videos under
Okay, I've
video.
never looked at
And then the
that.
business meetings every other Wednesday are with the live streams. But
Is that what I was describing?
No, you were describing
Oh,
the
the
city's website.
Right, yeah,
And past meetings
yes, right,
showing our commission plus
Right,
different
right,
committees.
yeah.
That's the only thing I've ever.
I see.
February 8th and April.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's all.
if you go to the city council site, if you didn't hear all the details, you mess around with it, you'll find it. Find it. But the important part is clicking on that past events, and then you get all the past minutes and videos.
Okay, so
Is that
Rebecca,
clear as mud?
yep, Rebecca and I will
Okay.
work on that for our next meeting.
Okay, so I'm a little unclear about what we're saying. You, Richard, you clearly said that it is a county issue, but, we can take it up here and figure out, just perhaps the elementary economics of it and then make a proposal to city council that they, get, I'm not going to, I guess city council doesn't do it, somebody in the executive branch has to do it, but they, maybe Josh Paludi, the, Public Works Commissioner can pursue it.
We will come up with something clear by the next meeting.
Now,
Okay,
there are two options. You can continue with the blue bags, which will have less in them. Or you can go to containers. Or just regular bags, just have the sanitation people pick them up with different colors for different purposes. Like in San Francisco, they have like a black container for the stuff that goes to the landfill. And a green container for the biodegradables, which goes to the compost. And of course, the blue container, which we have for the recyclables. So you can do it with containers or you can do it with bags, but you gotta have some kind of designation, so that the workers know what's in the bags.
I'll add too that garbage, that's not being picked up is a big problem in the city. Everyone knows or has heard that. Whether they're not in proper bags or whether the bags get ripped open by animals.
actually, I would just say from my casual observation, unscientific, that I don't see much of a problem in my neighborhood
Oh,
with the blue
yeah.
bags.
It's a neighborhood thing, it varies. I've been to different
Yeah.
outlets, yeah. It's not. a
You're
problem.
saying that it is a problem in some neighborhoods.
Not in our neighborhood.
And I don't mean I don't mean just using blue bags, I mean the actual, what Scott was just saying, they're too thin, they're ripping.
I've seen it on the west side, I've seen it on the southeast side of the company.
Huh.
And they talk about it at the first board, neighborhood watch meeting.
Yeah, I do know that not using blue bags is a problem, but I wasn't. Josh Paludi actually several months ago was at the South Side neighborhood meeting to sort of do a presentation. And I asked him, you know, what do you think about the blue bags? Is it a working solution? Are there any problems? And he said, no, it's fine.
I think
Now, maybe that's what he says, but
I think what he said, because I was at the meeting,
Yeah.
was that we love them. So it works for the department, but it's not working for residents, is the difference.
I said, yeah, sure,
I
that's a
unfortunately
difference.
have to go to parent. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I will watch the
One-
rest.
one
The next- okay.
thing that I wanted to say was that, city council may decided they want to do a pilot project. See if it works. Try that in June.
It's just a draft, but my head's
So
just
it
like
might get
very long.
different results.
Mhm.
As far as what they need to do to make it work. It might be easier if somebody with no problem.
And that could be somebody run off.
After that.
Did you ever hear anything from
He did,
water?
I did. He responded, and he's willing to meet, but he had some stipulations. So it was just, I have not yet forwarded that to the group. Which is entirely up. But they are willing, he is willing to do the tour. I will look that, either tonight or tomorrow and just pass it on to the group. But he was willing.
Okay.
I think his concerns were something about like no video. He had some particular
Yeah, sure.
concerns
I mean, that's
that
a problem.
I didn't think his concerns were unreasonable. I
Okay.
just said it's entirely on me. I failed to
Okay.
move forward.
New business, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. What was that, Tommy?
I was just trying to push you to open new business.
Yes, let's do that. And
Or this isn't necessarily for our committee, to do anything about, but, I'm trying to build a little rain garden in my backyard. And I went down to Russell Farms yesterday in Bethel and asked one of the people there if they, had rain garden plants. And I had a list that I got off of New York Native rain garden appropriate plants from like a DEC website or somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And the person looked at me cross-eyed and said, I don't know what a rain garden is. And I don't know what those plants are, because they were like, you know, the biological names of the plants. So, what I was thinking was, wouldn't it be a great outreach program looking down the road to just talk to the plant dispensaries that are in Broome County and see if they could come up with a code, like sign that just says rain garden friendly, putting on some of their plants, like just as a way to develop public awareness and help people like me who like don't know what I'm looking for, so I can't recognize it like I know what petunia looks like, but so that was just an idea I had. I just wanted to throw it out there to anyone here, see if they. So we could get in the minutes, just as a question for people to think about.
Okay, yeah,
Might be a good intern project, it might be public, like the Commonwealth, the idea of public education.
Yeah.
Kind of thought, hopefully, very minimal cost, I mean. To me, if we're just acting as a voice to amplify the idea of rain gardens, it's in the interest of the vendors. To make sure people know it, I'm sure Agway would, you know, if they're gonna sell more plants, good idea, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
okay,
okay.
good, thanks, yeah.
And on a personal note, if you know anywhere where I can get them easily, I don't need a lot, just a little bigger than state.
Uh-huh.
I'm open to.
Have you heard of the plants? I'm sorry, the Plantsmen, but they're up in Groton. They're the best around for native plants. Of the
I read it
plants,
online and I was like, where's Groton? Like,
they're an hour away.
yeah, I looked it up on the map. But that's cool.
Good. Okay, Richard has a bus to
Yeah, I have to catch the 10 house.
Good day.
Thanks, Richard.
Bye.
See you.
Then on the Native Gardens Task Force, like, there'd be a little hiccup on the minutes also with that, but there are minutes and they,
I know, yeah.
yeah. So, you can look at the minutes if, once they're on base camp, for sure. But it basically what our discussion was around was, couple different things. One had to do with what resources are available or not available or could be available for addressing not just native gardens, but vacant property. And like, my input on, can you hear me okay? Nikita, is she doing what? She's listening.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, the city does not have a central property management person or department. So we have real property and assessment that does tax related property issues. We have all the other city departments have like a pinky finger or maybe an index finger in the pie of property management, but it's not, the only coordination that occurs is through the mayor's office and indirectly through the council. So if you said to the secretary at the mayor's office, where could I find out how many vacant lots that are owned by the city are, well, how many are there and where are they located? I'm guessing from my own experience, you would get it like this. Be like, I don't know, how did I know that? However, if you go to Broome County Planning Department, to the Broome County GIS, they can tell you how you can just go on the GIS and create a filter and see the answer for yourself on a public facing website. So that's just an anecdotal example of how the left hand doesn't know what the right hand knows. Makes it very challenging because we don't have a central coordinator to talk about projects like native gardens in vacant land owned by the city, because it's like, how do you go about it? It's not a new problem. It's been a problem in the city for decades. That property management, it's just not everything fully. Like the Broome County has a facilities coordinator position. It's been there for decades. And that facilities coordinator is responsible for knowing what's going on with all county property. And they have relationships with like the parks director and with like the real property people and the public works. And these different departments that may be involved with the property, but they aren't where the buck stops, basically. So that's one issue. That being said, the county GIS has a lot of data. So Julian, I sent you some of that data.
Yeah.
And one thing that's specific to native gardens, like we talked about doing a pilot project. And I mentioned that we have some FEMA lots that have to be forever green, basically, or forever undeveloped. So I'm sure that native plantings in the FEMA lots are like, it's at a scale that's manageable. There's like 30 of them, I believe. So you could even take a subset. There's a process you have to go through the federal government. Maybe we want to do it before FEMA dissolves, but that would, they're not gonna, those lots can't be developed, so they're not, it's not in competition with any other use, which is what makes them nice. And it's consistent with what FEMA encourages you to do with those lots. After the lots basically been accepted, it's got a deed restriction on it. So, two lots or three lots that are at the Lourdes Road, like across from the hospital. Those beautiful lots that are like vacant right there. They're big and they're right by the river.
Yeah,
Those are FEMA lots.
I thought the DEC mandated that those had to be sort of flood reserve lots.
That might be something that people heard, but that's what the FEMA lots are really supposed to
I
be.
see.
So there's some at the bottom of Vincent Street along the river there. And there's some on the other side of town. There's some on Susquehanna Street neighborhood, Wyatt, what's the name of the street over there? I can't remember, but there's about 30 of them, I think, in the city. So that's one thing we talked about. Another thing was, so that's resources that can help us with this concept of managing vacant land, particularly for native gardens. And there's projects, ideas for projects, like you brought up the project ideas, we just helped with the garden at the bottom of Pennsylvania, right? For an AutoZone, was that you that mentioned that? Southside neighborhood?
No,
Okay, I'm not misunderstood, but it was, someone brought up the idea, I sure it's in the minutes here, that, the AutoZone, there's a little dead spot, not dead, it doesn't belong to anyone but the city, you know, the garden I'm talking about.
South side,
Yeah, so that was another project example that. Someone came up with, because it was kind of needed rejuvenation. Did it happen already? And I'm only behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
It's been fixed up.
The garden?
Yeah.
No, it's been tended for several years.
No, I know, but somebody said that they were looking for help tending it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
So
I don't know quite where that is.
I
but
think it was Hadassah that brought it up, actually.
Yeah, I think it's the South Side Neighborhood Assembly
Yeah.
that sort of governs that.
Okay. And then, the last thing we talked about was outreach and intentionality. So that was like part of what Rebecca was talking about, that like also as a matter of policy or programming, there's not really a coordinated municipal. It doesn't fit into a traditional service category, I think is one reason why. So if you looked at an org chart of the city over a long period of time, there's no real place to put it. You might think it would fit into planning, but planning doesn't go out and touch things necessarily, like on an operational way, the way, say, Public Works does. It's not really a public works function because it has never been, which is managing its vacant land. And it gained some attention and some initiative during the flood, after the floods, during the floods, but I don't want to say this, casual observation, is that what you said? Yeah, it's kind of fallen by the wayside, not just with the city, with the whole county.
Yeah.
You know, as I mentioned that before, but we used to have regular meetings at least twice a year to talk about resiliency and a lot of other issues that we just, I don't think that's happening anymore.
I do know the Parks Department, at least, when Paul Parker was the commissioner there, they actually were quite proud of the fact they were planting quite a few trees on vacant lots, like down on Duke Street,
Yeah,
and I think it was Vermont,
right.
not sure.
Right, so going back to outreach and intentionality, in my experience with the city, and this, I say this respectfully to a point, it's all personality-based initiatives. So it happened that Bill Barber, when he was the director of parks, was really focused on trees. That's why I had a street tree in front of my house, because he like how, you know, he's like, I got trees to give away to anybody, to tell everybody you know. But then when that person leaves, then the tree program might suffer for that. That's where the intentionality comes in. So that's where we could, I think we could reach out to council. Again, it's not budgetarily driven, but it's necessarily, but to just get a resolution that they recognize it as a concept and support it as a concept and encourage further. You know, I know what I said earlier, so I'm going to be careful about not talking about something that requires new resources right now. It's just not possible. But that doesn't stop us from coming up with identifying these resources that exist already, that are already funded, that can help us, like the county GIS as an example. You know, where if the mayor and or city council went to county planning and said, you know, we would like here's our template, or we'd like you to develop a template for vacant land of all types. Over and above what's already done in the assessment, because there's assessment coding for vacant land. But we added all these other things, it could become a project that the county might do for us as a service to the city, which they've done in the past around other issues. So it's like, they have the resources. Potentially. For, at least the time.
Hey, Tom, so the vacant lots in the city, is it a mix of county owned and city owned?
Well, I started writing about it and it's like, I got six pages of like discussion around vacant. Cause it's really confusing. There's what the real property and assessment, tax-based kind of data calls vacant land. Then there's like FEMA and what they call vacant land. Then there's just like vacant land. The city owns a ton of vacant land, like up on Mill Hill or over on the South Mountain or up on the parts of the First Ward. It's just undevelopable land. It's mapped, you know, it's there. But that's different than say a vacant lot on Liberty Street where a building was torn down and the city is
Right.
currently in possession of it, but not necessarily managing it. Or the city also has vacant land that's, think about like a transportation-based vacant land. I don't go into one, I'm sorry.
No, I do have to leave at 3:30.
But, so that's what I'm talking about, like, when you start digging into this, it gets really complicated really fast. Cause it's not structured a way that's easily managed by the existing structures that may or may not have an interest in. So, last thing I'll just say, the side lot program is it's triggering. In terms of like, someone wants a side lot or they approach a council person or the mayor. And no one's done an analysis or an inventory of all of the lots that are available for side lot and then quantify it in some way, so you can say, selling this lot would be a good idea and selling that lot would be a bad idea for the fiduciary interest of the public. Or whatever, or it would address this problem, or it's gonna introduce a problem. It's like, who do I go to get those answers? And it's like, good luck with that. If that makes sense.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. We should work on that. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so I was the chair and I resigned, because I just had too much going on in my personal life to do that. I think I can bring technical resources to bear, but I don't want to be the chair again.
Yeah.
Because I just can't drive the bus, can't ride on it.
yeah,
Okay.
Well, you're a valuable technical resource, no doubt, so.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, I think I would suggest we adjourn.
Fine.
Good, okay. So Nikita, Len, we will adjourn.
Bye.
We'll see you in a month. One thing we're always supposed to do is say when the next meeting will be, but it will be the third Thursday. I can't quite figure out what it is now. It'll be later than the 15th, but we'll certainly. In fact, it should be, this is 31, should be about the 20th, I think,
19.
19th, right?
Yeah, the calendar wasn't in our favor this month, was it, Joe?